going forward with him contract-wise than a different situation? And the answer is, I can see that. Yeah, I can see making sure that you get these guys those reps. The only way to have and get better in the NFL is for reps, and game reps are precious, hard to come by.
Well, that was Jerry Jones when he was asked about tanking. And look who we have here. We have NFL reporter Kimberly Martin joining us. And Keyshawn, I want to start with you here. You heard what Jerry Jones had to say. What do you think? Do you think that the Cowboys should consider tanking?
I don't think they should consider it because it's already happening, right? They're down to their third, fourth quarterback. And Woody know this. When you get to your third quarterback and your fourth quarterback, you're in trouble. And Jerry Jones knows that, and that's one of the reasons that they never went out to try to acquire anybody after the Andy Dalton concussion. I think that they realized that this team is a very bad football team. The offensive line is decimated. There's nothing there. Ezekiel Elliott is not running the football nearly as well as he is capable of doing. I just think that the defense overall, if they do anything, they have to hit the reset button at some point in time toward the end of the year and just start to look at players that potentially could be holdovers to next year. That's the way that I look at it. Because trying to tank for the number 1 or number 2 pick, what are you going to get there? You're looking at a quarterback? Well, you got a quarterback in Dak Prescott. You think that he's going to be 100% healed and healthy and ready to go come training camp. So if you got to franchise tag him in March and then there's a draft in April, now you have a decision to make. Are you just going to let him walk out the door when you have a known commodity there that your health department, your doctors can tell you he's going to be 100% healthy and ready to go, and now you can tag him to get a long-term deal done? Or are you just going to say, okay, you can walk out the door, we're going to draft a guy in April? And what if that guy that you're thinking you're going to draft in April to take his position at the 1 or 2 spot isn't nearly as good as you thought?
So Jerry Jones can't say that they should tank, and neither can Mike McCarthy, but I can say it. That's why I'm here. They should tank, because what is the point of them reaching the playoff only to get bounced in the first round? We've seen it happen. This team is not good. This is a very pitiful division, unfortunately. And what was the issue with Jason Garrett all those years? It was that 8-8, 9-7 carousel of we're kind of good, but not quite. They're not even that good this year. But Keyshawn mentioned the draft pick. You go get a high draft pick. Maybe you're not taking Trevor Lawrence because the Jets are all on that, but you can use that pick for something else. There are other holes on this team. Defensive tackle, you could get O-line help, you get a safety. There are other holes, especially on defense. So they can use that pick to get a known commodity, a kid that can help, or they can use it for a team. They can trade it to another team that needs a QB. So I think the Cowboys should say.
Well, like Keyshawn said, well, first of all, let me say, I think we've all seen the value of Dak Prescott this year when you talk about the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, since Dak Prescott got hurt, this team is just completely falling apart just as an organization. So that should show you the value of what he brings to that organization. But looking at the Dallas Cowboys big picture, yeah, they need to just continue to let this tank continue to go here, because when I look at the Dallas Cowboys, not only do they have personnel issues, they have coaching issues. I mean, we've talked ad nauseum, about Jason Garrett and not being able to get over the hump. Well, Mike McCarthy, who's supposed to be this Super Bowl winning head coach, this team seems like it's going backwards. Mike Nolan, a buddy of his who he hired as a defensive coordinator, this Dallas Cowboys defense is one of the worst defenses I've seen in a long time. So not only do they have personnel issues, but they have coaching issues, and I think Jerry Jones has to consider looking at the macro picture of the Dallas Cowboys and saying, boy, personnel-wise, we're not close. We might need to reset this whole thing, not only from personnel, but from a coaching perspective, because they are nowhere close to where they need to be as far as what they thought their aspirations were coming into the season.
Kimberly, you make a great point by saying that they should tank. My whole thing is they're tanking. They don't need to do anything else except roll the players out there that they have, and they're going to find themselves in a pretty good spot to have a draft pick, to have some value. So now they have draft capital to move it around however they wish. I just don't want to see them deliberately tanking. Like, that's what I don't want to see.
Tank on the low.
They are deliberately tanking.
But they don't have.
Well, they have a couple divisional games
the,
coming up later in the season, so those could be easy wins for them.
Yeah,
so,
and
that would put them in a place where they wouldn't get as good of a draft pick. Nothing is easy for the
Cowboys.
Charlie, when you get to the third and the fourth quarterback, Cooper Rush, like when you get to that, you might as well, Garrett at quarterback, you might as well forget it. You might as well just understand and know that you got the Pittsburgh Steelers coming up and it's going to get ugly. And then the next game after that's probably going to get ugly. And then the game after that and the game after that, because you don't have a good football team. I mean, you don't, much like Woody said, the coaching staff, Mike McCarthy, I said at the beginning of the season that I would evaluate him at the end of the year. People thought I had frogs on my face because I said that. Now, all of a sudden, they're looking at it different now. Yes, if I'm a billionaire like Jerry Jones, money is not an issue. If I have to pay a coach $20 million to say goodbye to him, so be it. I got to go out there and find somebody who can lead my team in the right direction. I think a lot of people, and I've been saying this for years, and I played for the Dallas Cowboys and I played for Jerry Jones. I've been saying it for years. People act like Jerry is in the way. He's not calling the plays. He has given them great players over the years to do wonderful things. The problem is they keep hiring the wrong coach. They got to finally just figure out who the right guy is. Because in terms of their personnel decisions, they do a tremendous job, man. Whether it's through free agency, bottom feeding, whatever the case is, Will Clay, Jerry Jr., Steven, and Jerry Jones has done a tremendous job of putting players on the field. The problem is they haven't done a good job of finding people to coach them up.
Hey, Key, let me tell you one other aspect with the Dallas Cowboys why I think they just continue to tank. The Dallas Cowboys' identity, everyone talks about Dak, everyone talks about Zeke. Their real identity is their offensive line.
Yes.
Okay, and when you look at their offensive line right now, I mean, it's been ravaged. Tyron Smith out for the year. Travis Frederick, who was their All-Pro for many years, retired in the offseason. Leo Collins out for the year. So when you have that many defections going up front, that's been the identity of your team for years, to me, that's a big part of the reason why I say it's time for them to reset the whole thing, because that was always the strength of their football team.
Well, I want to go back to the topic of the coach. We saw how much time they gave Jason Garrett to really prove himself year after year. Mike McCarthy probably will have the same opportunity. Kimberly, I want to pose to you, how bad do you think the situation is for the Cowboys moving forward?
Well, like the guys are saying, you don't know where it starts and ends here. Mike Nolan and this defense, on paper, everybody thought this team would compete for the division title, right? And then you bring in Mike McCarthy. Oh, he had Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, won a Super Bowl. Like, this guy knows his stuff, veteran coach. Mike Nolan, okay, that's his friend. This defense is going to be revamped and it's going to hit it. And it has been anything but. And so I don't think Mike McCarthy should get the same leash as Jason Garrett at all. Because if you're in Green Bay and you can't make it work with Aaron Rodgers, like, that should be a gig where you're set for life because you got a future Hall of Famer. So off the bat, I don't think he should get the same amount of time as Jason Garrett. I don't think Jerry Jones has that kind of time or that patience level to just sit and watch this team do this like slow rebuild. We're talking about these guys should have been in competition for the division title. And now we're talking about whole reset, blow this thing up. Like, that is problematic.
Here's what I would say, Kimberly and Woody, when you start talking about the coaches and the coaching staff. Yes, he went out and hired Mike Nolan as his defensive coordinator because Mike Nolan hired him as his offensive coordinator when he was in San Francisco as the head coach of the 49ers. When you look to the coaching staff, Jason Garrett was a Dallas Cowboy. He had a relationship with the organization, a relationship with the owner. So he got a little longer to kind of get things sort of kind of going in the right direction, which it never got fully in the right direction because they would never just advance deep runs into the playoffs. They would get bounced out. And so it just looked bad. The optics of it looked bad. But if they're going to move on from Mike McCarthy, the one dude, and I know everybody cringe when I say this, is I'm looking at Jim Harbaugh. And the reason I'm looking at Jim Harbaugh is because even though he wears you out at around year 3, year 4, he can take over a team that has talent like he did the San Francisco 49ers when Mike Singletary was the head coach. Jim came in, took it over, and they wind up going to the Super Bowl because it was talent that was already there. Mike Singletary just didn't coach it up the right way. Now, when you look at this situation with Mike McCarthy, it's not a huge bill that the Jones family would have to pay if they wanted to part ways. Jim Harbaugh is struggling in Michigan. I'm sure people want him to leave Michigan. He's probably itching to get back in the right situation with a healthy Dak Prescott, the running game. They rebuild the offensive line, get a nice defense going. They got weapons on the perimeter at the receiver position. It's a great recipe for success in a short window, and Jerry Jones could certainly use a short window, much like you said, Kimberly. Doesn't have a whole lot of time left to keep doing this.
Well, not a great recipe for success is the fact they don't even know who's going to be starting under center this coming Sunday when they face the Steelers. And